Hello, everybody, and indeed, welcome to another edition of Content Camp. Today's special guest is Ken Hall. He is a mortgage banker. Hello, Mr. Hall. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Thank you.
Jumping into our first question, we heard that you, or your dad had a store and you worked at it. What age did you start working?
I think I was about 8 years old when I started in my dad's grocery business, and it was a lot of fun just helping customers, find the merchandise that they wanted to purchase and stocking shelves. And I used to even pick up trash out in the parking lot, to make the first appearance of the customers coming into the store very pleasing.
Yeah. What was the one? Let's start off simple. What was the store called?
It's called Superior Food Mart. So we served, like groceries.
So like a Kroger?
Yes, but on a smaller scale. Family owned and operated in a small town.
And then what was helping out at the grocery store at a young age like?
Oh, it was extremely fun. And anytime that, in my mind, I can help customers meet their needs, they have to buy their groceries to live on, and we sell all kinds of merchandise that they would use in their homes, cleaning supplies, meats, produce, bread, milk, the normal stuff in a grocery store. Great experience.
So when you were working at the store, what types of jobs did you do?
Yeah, like stocking the shelves, keeping them full of merchandise so when the customers came in, they could find the items they were looking for, sweeping the floor, bringing in the grocery carts. You ever been to the grocery store and all the grocery carts end up out in the parking lot, so I had to bring them inside back in the store for the next customers to use. Ringing the cash register when I got a little older, taking cash.
Yep. So we did what you did, how you worked, what the store was actually called, what it was like to work at a young age. Do you think any of what you did led you to be a banker today?
I do. Yes. It's all in a service industry. You're helping other people. That's what I do as a banker today. I help them with their financial matters. Specifically, I help them buy a new home. Sometimes it's their first home that they live in. And so all those skills I learned, at a younger age helps me today as an adult in serving others.
Mm-hmm. So on the topic of, I think, David, did you get all the questions you wanted about a grocery store, or do you still have a few?
Oh, yeah. So how long did you work at your dad's store if you started at 8?
Probably until I went off to college. So about 9-10 years.
And it's family owned, you're working at a young age. Did you get paid at all, or was it just free labor?
If I remember, I got paid later on. Early, it was free labor. But we got to take home some groceries too, without paying for them, so to speak, because we owned the store.
Well, that's always a perk.
Yeah, there was perks. Got free lunches and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. What types, specific types of things did your dad's store have, and what was your favorite or favorites?
Well, we sold, this was several years ago, so keep in mind, we sold, baking goods, flour, milk, bread, eggs, produce, bologna and cheese, hot dogs, hamburgers, all the things you see in a grocery store today, and as well as cleaning supplies. And I didn't like any particular item we sold. I just liked meeting the customers and interacting with them and helping them, carry their groceries to their car and so forth.
So your favorite item in the grocery stores actually like the people and getting to help them out.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Let's go on to the banking part. So you went from bagging groceries, being a cashier, and doing everything at your dad's store to now being a mortgage lender is what I saw
Yes,
on
sir.
the email.
Yes,
So
sir.
mortgage lender. First, let's start off with what are mortgages and how do they relate to banking?
Well, mortgages are a tool that people borrow money to buy a house. So if you think, you live in a house, right? And sometimes it's hard to have all that money, houses are expensive. So they come to a bank to borrow the money, and plus they pay the bank interest, as they're borrowing that money. And it may take several years to pay the bank back with interest because, it's a big house and it's what's, considered a long-term asset, your home is. Mm-hmm. So that's what I do.
So it's pretty much like you want to buy a house, you don't have all the money for it yet, you go to a bank and you get a loan
Yes.
from them, and then over periods of months or years, you end up paying it back. So if it's a $500,000 house, you could end up having to pay $100,000 for it or $1 million for it because of the interest with the bank.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah, and then, so you know what a mortgage is. So what is your job to what do you do with the mortgages, I should say?
Well, so I talk to customers and I collect, financial information from them. So I have to kind of demonstrate that they can pay the bank back, right, if they're going to borrow the money. And so I have to collect financial information, like information about their earnings, at their job, like the bank statements, what their assets are. Have to look at their other liabilities. Maybe they got a car loan as well. So I have to take all that into consideration and then help them, through the process of obtaining that loan so they can buy that house.
So you're looking through all their stuff, and what other loans, if any, they've taken from you guys. Do you ever have to if they just switched to the Citizen State Bank, do you ever have to go through the files at other banks to see if they have any unpaid loans or anything like that?
Yes. I look at their credit history as well, how they've paid their other loans in the past, because that's an indicator of how they're going to pay me back. Mm-hmm. So yes, I do look at their credit history.
So then, David.
Yeah. I was gonna say, how complicated is having to help with the people to the managing the loans and the mortgages?
It's kind of complicated because there's a lot of data and a lot of moving parts, and so think about sometimes the bank requires what they call an appraisal on the home to verify the value of that home. If they're going to give a loan against it, so they have to do an appraisal. They have to involve other parties, like a title company, because when you're transferring ownership from a house, one name to another name, then a title company is involved as well. So it can get kind of complicated, and I think that's what I enjoy the most, is because I can help customers through that complicated process.
Mm-hmm. So you said it's kind of complicated. Have you ever had a customer where it's they're looking at they're looking at the loan or the price of the house, and they just really don't understand why they'll end up having to pay you more than what the house actually costs with the mortgage?
Well, sometimes they don't understand the need for the
interest.
The financial information that I request of them. Mm-hmm. Like their pay stubs and their W-2s, which is like their past earnings. because again, I have to demonstrate that they can pay this loan back sometimes over 30-year period. So we're going to, make sure that they can do that. But typically I try to guide them not to overpay for the house. That's why you have an appraisal. So it's a third party that indicates here's what the value is. And, you typically don't want to overpay, for a home. You want to pay the right price for it.
It's kind of like you'll be watching a show and then like a Carfax thing will show up where it shows you the actual price of the car and not what it is.
Right.
What they're trying to sell it for.
Yes, exactly.
So, what are some pros and then some cons to a bank? Like, what's the difference between like a Citizens Bank and a First Americans Bank?
Yeah. Well, we're a local bank. That's one thing, not a national bank. So I get to meet with people in person. Like sometimes I'll go to their house and sit at their kitchen table, and talk to them about how I can help them, be a homeowner and get a mortgage to buy a home. Some of it's done online, which can be a little impersonal. But I try to blend that, personalization to it. And being a local bank, too, we can maybe be a little more flexible on some things than maybe other banks.
So First Americans Bank is like an international bank, right? So it's like
right
all around the world.
Yes.
And then yours is just locally in the U.S. or Indiana?
In Indiana, yes.
Oh, so yours is smaller. It's like not known around. So
correct.
You guys can take a little. Do the cases cost more or no? From where? Because you guys are locally, do they cost more or less?
What does what cost more?
So like, do the people obviously have to like pay the mortgage and stuff? Is the interest more than or less than what it would be for like a First Americans?
I would say it's competitive. It's competitive with the national.
Right here in Indianapolis, we are delivering the zombie antidote so desperately needed by many of our Hoosier children. Have you noticed recently the kids are hopelessly mesmerized by their phones, by all this social media? Their heads are buried in their phone and life is passing them by. Normal social development is passing them by. Well, we found an awesome way to snap our kids out of this trance, and it's working wonderfully, and the kids love it. We created a video podcasting club here in Indianapolis called Content Camp, designed very carefully to get our kids conversing and interacting normally. Our kids create and produce their very own weekly video podcast where they interview someone interesting, and they do it face-to-face in our studio. The kids run the cameras, they set up the lighting, they run the audio board, and they, of course, conduct the interviews themselves. The kids are the crew. If you have a child past 4th grade who might really enjoy being a guest crew member on our show and you want to get them off these things for a while, we would love to have them guest on our crew. Please reach out and let us know.
So how is the Midwest Kentucky different from bigger cities, like just bigger cities in the U.S.?
I would say we have a more sincere, ability to help people. It's a complicated, as I said, mortgages can be complicated. And so you got to have patience, you got to have kindness, and you got to appeal to the customer's needs all the time. Don't rush them, be patient, and just help guide them through the process. I think that's one Midwestern quality, that you'll find, and that's why we thrive in this market here in Indiana, because we're more personal, in our approach to helping customers.
I got 2 questions. First is like, have you ever had a person that like, you look at their financial stuff and they just couldn't possibly with their salary pay back the loan? And then what is the longest it's taken for somebody to pay a loan back?
Question number one, yes, I have had those clients, applicants who just can't afford the mortgage, for various reasons. Maybe it was their past credit history, they didn't pay things on time, or maybe they didn't make enough money for the size home they wanted to purchase. So I've had those experiences, but I always try to guide them, and it's no, not right now. Maybe we can revisit this in the future, with some guidance. And your second question, which was what?
What's the longest period of time it's taken for somebody to pay back the mortgage?
Most mortgages now are like 30 years. So we give them a long time to pay it back. Mm-hmm. They may not use that whole 30 years, but you stretch it out so it's more of affordable payment over the course of, the time they're going to own the home.
So what happens if they don't pay off that mortgage within the time given?
Well, sometimes we can do what we call refinance it. We can kind of modify things, to help them be able to make the payment. Sit down and review their finances again, because when you look at someone's finances, those things can change, over time. And so maybe they make more money, than they did when we first gave them the loan, or maybe they make less. And so we can reevaluate things to see. Our goal is to keep them in the house. The banks don't want to take the house back, but in the worst case scenario, the bank might have to take their home, and we don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm. So you said that you can repossess the home. Have you ever had to do that because somebody just refuses to pay their loan?
I have not. No, sir.
But have you ever had have you known any other banks that have had to do that?
Yes. Sure have. There was a time period when it was too easy to get a mortgage. This has been several years ago. And so a lot of people lost their homes, right after that time period, like in a recessionary time period. And so we're very prudent, in our underwriting and ability to give someone a loan now.
Forwarding on to our next topic is that we've heard about you help with some sort of donation center, if I'm correct about this, called Second Helpings. Could you tell us what that is?
Yes, I'd be pleased to. So it's what they call a 501c3 not-for-profit organization based here in Indianapolis, and they help people with food. What they do is they rescue food. So, sometimes there's a lot of food waste. And so they rescue the food, and then they have this big kitchen, and they repurpose it and package meals up and deliver over 5,000 meals to needy families every day of the week. 5,000, a lot. And so what I've done there is I serve on their advisory board to help them with their strategic plan and fundraising efforts. And I also volunteer there on a Saturday morning, like washing dishes and cutting up peppers and so forth, to help prepare the meals.
Are you able to donate, though? Can you donate to them?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I personally donate, and I invite others to donate to them.
So what it's kind of like is let's just say a Pizza Hut has some extra pizzas left over. They would call Second Helpings and say that they have some extra food if
Yes.
they want to come get it, and then they bring it back, they'd repackage it, and then they'd go send it back out.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Okay.
And it might be more like a Kroger, a big store that has a lot of vegetables that, are still
Good, but
but getting close to not good. And so they'll bring like truckloads of those items to Second Helpings.
So Second Helpings is just another way of like, it's not what you would see like a homeless shelter or anything. It's more of like, instead of making people drive to us, we're going to drive to them.
Yeah. They repurpose the food there. It's like this big kitchen where they repurpose the food, and then they have all these delivery trucks, and they deliver them out to a lot of social service organizations here in Indianapolis, like over 150 different organizations. So they take the food right to the local community where it's needed.
Well, how long has Second Helpings been running, and who is the founder?
That's a good question. I was just at an event last week, and one of the three founders was there. So it was three people who worked in the food industry, and they saw a need to rescue food and to save food. It helps keep food out of our landfills as well. And it started as a smaller operation like 25 years ago, and now we're busting at the seams because the demand for our services just keep growing, and we're evaluating like new facilities and how we can continue to grow because the need is certainly there.
So I was gonna say, when did you start volunteering to help out there?
It was about 10 years ago that I started washing dishes in the dish room. So that grocery store experience helped me, a lot when I was a kid.
So your job from when you were 8 to 18, from when you graduated college, and you probably had a job there. I don't know. We don't know what it is, obviously, but to banking and then to volunteering. It seems like the big picture of what you're trying to say, of like what you've done with like just work and stuff, is more of like, I do it for the money, but I do it for the, like, I get paid at the end of the day, and that's what I want, but I do it to help people.
Amen. It's where I get a whole lot more pleasure in helping others. It comes back to you. Every time you help somebody else, it comes back to you and makes you feel good.
I know this because I used to be like I read the Bible too much a year or two ago. Mother Teresa has a quote, and it is, I cannot make a difference myself. It's something like this. I cannot make a difference myself, but I can drop a pebble in the lake to make ripples.
Yeah.
So they're like trying to set an example so that more people will do it with them.
Yes, I love that example, and I love your example of Mother Teresa. Right now, the demand here locally in central Indiana, it just continues to blossom. So I'm not sure if we'll go out of the state or not, but it's always a possibility.
And that would be great for many people.
It sure would.
Our last question for tonight is, does Second Helpings take from more than just like vegetables, and do they go out to restaurants and not just stores?
Yes, they do. So if you think about, I can think of a couple of examples where they were able to rescue large amounts of food. Do you remember years ago we had the Super Bowl here? And so there were items left over from events or hotels, that have big conventions downtown Indianapolis, for example. And they might have over-prepared, enough food, and then they thought of Second Helpings. Or even when a new grocery store came into the market, I remember like Fresh Time, they had trouble controlling their inventory, And so when they had extra items, meats and produce, they would bring those to Second Helpings. So it's a wide variety of people who are helping Second Helpings.
Wow, so we had quite a bit to talk about. Thank you for coming and talking with us today.
It's been all my pleasure. All my pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.